Hi, folks. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I hope you're joining me again. We're going to kind of just pick up right where we stopped. And hi, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And I hope that you're going to jump back into the broadcast. Oh, that was really challenging. We were having some bandwidth problems here. That occurred yesterday also. So we just had to kind of restart everything. So if you maybe remind your friends that were watching with you earlier, send them an email and let them know that we're back in action and we are broadcasting. We're going to go ahead and take, kind of pick up where we left off. We'll just wait a couple moments and allow people to come back. Lisa, thanks so much for joining and hanging in there. Hi, Lisa. I know. Yeah, well, you just never know, right? We were talking about things that can happen when you go live. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You never know what we're up against or what challenges we're going to face, whether it's in video technology, internet speed, or embroidery studio problems. So let's see. Donna wants to know, can I repeat why baby lock won't let us oil? Well, baby lock won't let us oil because the machine doesn't require oil on its parts like some of its some other machines like Bernina and Singer, right? They require continuous maintenance with their specific type of machine oil, where Baby Lock uses different lubricants that are not readily available. They're really only available for use by a dealer. And so those machines really only require any kind of service but once a year. So don't worry that you're not supposed to use oil on your Baby Lock or Brother machines. Follow the guidelines that are in your manual. They are what is right for your machine. And so, a lot of times I like to, break the rules and do things on my own. But that is one rule that I never break. I never use oil on my machine. I will place a tiny drop of oil on the end of a Q-tip and swipe out the bobbin case just to clean out any lint, because that little bit of oil will grab whatever lint is, hanging out in the bottom of my bobbin case. So that's the only place that I apply any type of oil to on a Baby Lock or Brother. Now, Bernina, I follow the instructions that are in the manual for how often to oil and where, because all of those things are important, right? So yeah, Marjorie, thanks for coming back. We really appreciate all you folks who are coming back. How about the Janome 15,000? I don't know. I don't have a Janome 15,000. So Belinda, read your manual and they'll let you know in there. They'll let you know in the manual. Susan Walter, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming back. Okay, so we were talking about needles, is where we kind of left off. We were talking about the two different types, ballpoint and also sharp. So ballpoint is for knits and sharp needles are for woven fabrics. So let me just, and of course, my number one thread is exquisite 40 weight polyester thread. That's what I use in 90% of my embroidery. The other 10% is going to be the 60 weight exquisite thread or King Star metallic. Those three specific threads I have complete confidence in, and I do not get any thread shredding. So fabric caught under the hoop. Well, that's really a bummer. Your number one solution to that is to be a defense. So here we have a beautiful, linen towel being embroidered. It's got placement guides. It's going to be a continuous. It's going to be a continuous embroidery. But look what happened before I got to the second design. A portion of the towel was captured underneath of the hoop. Now this is really a problem, right? Because now I can't get that towel out of the hoop. So I did reenact that for you, and I'll do that in just a moment. But I really want to talk about the defense. That's your number one solution. So when you are hooping and attaching the hoop to the machine, whether it's a multi-needle or a single needle flatbed machine, the last thing you should do is slide your hand across the surface of the fabric and feel for fabric that's underneath? Are there ridges? Is there a heavy area in one portion of the hoop and not the other? Then you have an extra layer of fabric caught in the hoop. We don't want that. So let's go ahead over. And then, solution number 2 is to rip it out. So let's take a look. So here is a really pretty applique design, Joy, right? But there was fabric caught on the wrong side. So in something like this, I can just trim around it, right? Get rid of that excess so it doesn't add extra weight to this whole fabric. So that's acceptable. We can live with that, right? It's not ideal, but we can live with that. But not so great when this happens, right? Now this is absolutely stitched, the 2 layers together, another piece of fabric. Here's my stabilizer. That's very frustrating. And, I wouldn't have any idea this was happening until I pull the hoop off the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and rip this out with our stitch ripper. But first I'm going to place our totally tubular hooping station so that I can just put my hoop in this position and it'll hold it nice and firm and keep it in one spot. Now I'm going to open up the stitch ripper, and I have the wide blade attached. It does come with 2 blades, a skinnier blade and the wider blade. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this wide blade in place. And then I place the blade right on those bobbin stitches, and I just kind of wiggle it back and forth, just ever so lightly. And look how they are removing. Is this awesome? So I'm just going up and down the satin stitches. I'm centering that blade on the bobbin stitches and working it. I can't see from that angle. So here we go. Sometimes the little areas where all of those satins connect can be a little tricky, but you'll take the time to maybe have a seam ripper handy also. You may have to remove a handful of stitches, such as the running stitches, the underlay, and it's kind of mesmerizing. It's almost as much fun as watching the needle stitch, right? Is to watch these stitches be removed. So now I'll go ahead and I'll turn that off, and I'm going to flip it over, and we'll just remove those stitches. And look at that. In that quick, they are gone. Oh my goodness, I just love that. And you're going to have a little bit of mess, right? And you could use a piece of tape or something in that fashion to clean that up. So I can flip this back over and remove those wider underlay stitches underneath. But first we'll go ahead and we'll remove the stitches from the second A and pull that out. Yeah, and it does kind of get a little messy. Good to have scissors handy. Let's see. And so here we can see there's our underlay that's still attached. So I can just hit it one more time and get rid of those stitches. Now, when you're going to use a stitch ripper, always keep the stabilizer attached to the fabric. So if this was a tearaway, I wouldn't want to tear it off at all. That is not desirable. But you can see these stitches are coming right out. I'm going to be able to pull that fabric, separate it, and there we have it. And all I have to do now is work on that A, and I'm done. Isn't that great? Yeah, I love that stitch ripper. So, you can use the smaller blade for really tight areas, and that most certainly would have worked out just fine for these satins. It's your choice, and it's very easy to switch the blade. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. Make sure it's off, and then just pop it out and center the smaller blade in place and snap it in place. So just as easy. So we'll go ahead and I'll turn that back on so you can take a look at how that operates. There we go. Yeah, same thing. Same thing. I think the larger blade's a little bit faster. So, yeah, Lorinda Curd says she's going to invest in a hand vacuum too. Good idea. If you find it, let us know. I wouldn't mind one to one to have in my sewing room too. You know, I have like that really, you know, the tiny nozzle and so forth that you can attach to a really big vacuum. Goodness, that's a whole lot of commotion around my embroidery machine. So I wouldn't mind a little, a smaller one also. Okay, so that was when you get fabric caught underneath, right? So now let's move on to typos. Now, I did admit that apparently I can't really find a typo until it's stitched in thread, but I'm working on it. So right here we have 3 aprons, Baker's Beauties, but one is misspelled. How do you do that, right? Well, truth be told, that was the first one that was stitched, and then we found the mistake, and then, you know, did 2 more aprons with the right spelling. But I can tell you that today, our Perfect Embroidery Pro has spell check, which I love. So here's how you do it. You can write your word, and here I did that beaties instead of beauty. And notice in the text box, there is a red line underneath my text because it's a misspelled word. And that will also come up if you are, you know, maybe typing in some names that have unique spelling. So you'll have to do your own spell check for custom work like that. But that's my #1 way to fix, you know, to guard against typos is to use the spell check in Perfect Embroidery Pro and check it and check it and check it. So the next up is fabric falling in the hoop. And we have 2 solutions for that. So let me kind of get that set up first. And of course, I made that big mess, right? I should have saved that one for the end. So when things fall into the hoop, it can really cause a disaster, right? So, you know, in quilting, we often have a quilt roll that wants to fall into the hoop. Now, here's my attachment. So on a Baby Lock and Brother machine, this bulk of fabric can extend over the pantograph arm and just open up and be, you know, handled away from the machine. But this roll is between the head of the machine head, and the sewing field. So I have attached my jumbo hoop guard. And jumbo hoop guard is a metal barrier that snaps in place on our hoops, and then it just creates a wall so that my quilt roll can't fall in. And it stays in a vertical position, and as the hoop stitches and, you know, is moved around that pantograph, this roll does not move in. So I love that jumbo hoop guard. I use that for all of our quilting projects. Every quilt that I do, I always have that jumbo hoop guard in place. And of course, it works on any size hoop. We recommend that it's on the 8x8 or larger hoop because it is quite large. And this is an 8x8 hoop. So that's the one that I use. Now, the smaller one is handy to keep a sewing field open, like on a onesie, on a onesie. So here I've kind of already set this up for us. So I have my onesie here. You can see here's my template, right? And I have my cutaway, my fusible cutaway stabilizer, my no-show cutaway fused to the wrong side of the garment, the design area. And I have hooped it in a 4x4 hoop. And right here, I have hoop guard. This is the smaller hoop guard. And when I open up that onesie, now that reveals my design area, and it will stitch, and I don't have to worry about anything falling into the hoop. Because you have to imagine that the foot is going to be right here. So that is naturally going to keep this out of harm's way as it stitches. And I am going to have to rotate my design. That's just the way that goes when we hoop it in this fashion. Now, hoop guard always goes either to the edge of the hoop that is closest to the head of the machine. And it is also in front of the foot, because if it were behind the foot, first off, you wouldn't be able to get the hoop on the machine. And also the back of the foot could very easily hit hoop guard, but it won't in the front. Now, also when you apply hoop guard to the hoop, you have to make sure that the barrier is outside of the hoop. We don't want to have it in here. Well, it won't even fit in this size. Well, just barely. You don't want it to hit, you don't want to attach it to the inside of the hoop because the needle bar will hit this. So it always goes on the outside, and then it's been designed so that the needle bar will not touch the hoop guard. You'll be in good shape to just keep it in place, and it'll protect that roll from falling out. Okay, so let's see. I thought I would show you pulling out some other types of stitches. I have some fill stitches here, and I have some different size satins, 7.0, 4.0, 2.5, and a little wiggle one. So this one's still in the hoop. So I'm going to use our hoop and press pad and place my hoop over it. So you can see, look how I can press on that. And that hoop and press pad is keeping my fabric safe, secure in the hoop, and I don't have to worry about it falling, falling through the hoop and popping that inner ring. So I'm going to switch blades again. We'll go ahead and we'll pop that out and pop this one back in and turn it on. And let's go ahead and do this multi-sized curved satin so you can see just how fast. Now, what I love about using this hoop pad is, I'm really pressing on this fabric, and I have no resistance whatsoever because that hoop and press pad underneath is supporting it. So that is just awesome. Okay, and then let's go ahead and do some fill stitches. So now we have to, there we go. You'll play with the position of the stitch ripper. Will you go with the grain or against the grain? And whatever turns out to be the fastest way is the way that you'll, finish that task. And that's really coming out. So we can flip it over and make a bigger mess now, right? And see, oh, look how they're coming out. Isn't that wonderful? And just, what was that, 20 seconds? Oh my goodness, I love that. This is going to allow you to salvage a lot of projects that maybe previously you would have thrown out. And, that's disappointing when you have to throw them out. So if I were really doing this at home, I would dump this in a trash can and then flip this over. I don't want to do that here and make such a bigger mess for sure. But oh yeah, we love that. And that hoop pad is just ideal. So let's see. I think I have my numbers a little messed up here. Another solution or another defense for keeping things out of the sewing field is to nest it above the machine, nest it around the hoop. So as you can see, this is a big tote bag, and I've turned it wrong side out so that the design area, of course, where that target sticker is, in the right position in the hoop, and yet the body of the tote bag is up over the head. And those handles, keep them under control. Pin them to the body or tape them to the body so that they don't fall into the sewing field. Yeah, so let's see. Creative Applique says the hoop and press pads are amazing. I agree. I love them. I just love them. And Reen Wilcoxon, she had a great idea when she brought them to us. Jenny wants to know, is it better to use a onesie or a magnetic hoop on the sticky hoop or the sticky hoop? So I always use a magnetic hoop when I'm doing a onesie. I don't really like to use adhesive stabilizer on a child's garment. I try to avoid that if I can. And you can't get it open if it is on a sticky hoop. So the way I just did with that monster hoop is really the way to go with hoop guard. It's just the perfect solution. And the beauty about being in a magnetic hoop, you can stretch those stretchy fabrics and you're not going to have any fiber distortion like you possibly would in a standard hoop. So that's the way Is there a hoop guard for regular hoops? There is a hoop guard for regular hoops. And, I don't have one here to show you, but you can look on our website, and there is good imagery there for you to review it. You get 4 plastic hoop guards in your purchase of the hoop guards for standard hoops. And the reason why you get 4 is you'll probably use 2 for each hooping. And they're plastic because they are flexible. We want them to flex along the curve of the hoop. And, standard hoops come in all shapes and sizes, right? So these are rather universal. And I think you'll find that they are really quite handy. Pay attention to the instructions on how to apply it, because there's a kind of a, 2 different, there's a bend that goes underneath the inner ring and a barrier that stands up. And then there's a little fold at the top that helps hold open, let's say, a onesie or a t-shirt, something like that. But all those images are over there. Yeah, all those images are over there. So what else is next? So here's our hoop guard. I love that. Now, this is a large hoop, but this image was taken way before we had the jumbo hoop guard. So today, if I was doing that same project, I most certainly would be using jumbo hoop guard, because it just does a better job. It's larger. Yep. All right. And then stitching over target stickers and templates, this happens to all of us. So really, the only thing you can do here is either rip out the stitches, or if it's white thread on a white target sticker, just carefully tear off that target sticker, and nobody will be the wiser that there's a partial target sticker underneath the embroidery. But truth be told is, keep an eye on it. Now, look at this. This was not detected until that entire word was stitched. So, if you are paying attention to your embroidery machine and the task at hand, you would see the first couple stitches that are applied on top of a target sticker or a template. So, just go ahead and do that. Oh, well, here's one of my friends brought me the hoop guards. So let's talk about that. So here you can see it has a little slit in the center and has a fold here and a fold here. So this fold goes underneath the inner ring and it curves like this. So that's why there's a little split here, so that it can curve. Yeah, so let's see. Can I replace the sticker on for the magnetic hoops? You sure can. You can order them on our website. You can get replacement stickers. So yeah, these are easy. These are really helpful and useful for standard embroidery hoops. Okay, what else is next? So of course, the solution is to look before stitching. So let's go ahead and share some of the on-the-house designs that we have found. So here's Wendy Hansen. She's stitched our soup. What do we call these? Bowl warmers, I guess they were. These came out early in the year, in January or February, and that design is still available on our website, so you can go grab it. And she used Harry Potter fabric. She was really excited to go ahead and use that, and won't that be fun in her kitchen? And then I was just so impressed with Needlequirk's bag combo here, and Sunny Girl that she used. She used Summer Sunny Girl on both the small zipper bag and the larger drawstring bag. I think they're just beautiful. She did a really nice job on that. So thanks for posting that. And then Carolyn Booth, kind of the same thing, kind of the same project, but look at those fabrics. Weren't they beautiful? And I thought they were a great example to kind of lead into next week's topic, because we're going to be talking all about handbags, Sally Tomato handbags. So we're super excited about that. But before we do that, when we were kind of running into technical difficulties, we shared a video on how to share your photos on Facebook so we can find them. So let's go ahead and take a moment and share that video again, because sometimes we have trouble finding them, and then you email us and tell us that you have actually posted them. So we want to see them for sure.
Hi everyone, today we're going to go over on how you can go and post your great and beautiful designs and tag our hashtags. So let's follow the following steps. First of all, you're going to go into your Facebook page, and on your Facebook page, you're going to see in the middle portion that it's going to ask you what's on your mind. In there, select photo or video. It's going to ask you if you want to publish this post publicly to your friends and all the other options that you see in front of your screen. In there, you're going to have to make sure to go public, because this way we're going to be able to actually see the post on our end. Then you select done. Once you select done, it's going to ask you what you want to post. So in there, you're going to click on add photo or video, and then upload the photo of the design that you want us to take a look at. And in there, you're going to type down a brief description or whatever description you feel like using for your design. And then you're going to use our hashtags #DimeSoLong, and or you could also use on the house. We would always recommend using both at the same time because it makes things a lot easier for us to find your beautiful designs. Once you finish creating your post, click post, and that's it. Just a couple of tips also for you to use these hashtags. Make sure that you leave no spaces between the words you're using on each individual hashtag, and also do not leave any spaces between the hashtag itself and the words that follow. And that's it. Thank you for watching.
Okay, that was a helpful reminder on how to post. So I see that Roxy has a question. She says, so her fabric shifts while stitching, and how do you prevent that from happening? Well, I don't really have that happen very often, or, very often at all. So fabric, I would imagine, so here's a couple things you could do. Maybe you're using a stabilizer and a fabric that wants to just slide away from each other, right? So you could hit it with a shot of temporary spray adhesive and just kind of temporarily adhere those two layers together. That is often very helpful for people to control those two layers. Also, it is, are you hooping it properly? If you're using a monster hoop, is the top actually centered and attached to the bottom? We can have them offset, and we don't want that. We want them to be married all the way around, nice and square and perpendicular. And I could maybe show you how to do that. So give me a moment. And then the other thing is, often, is your hoop hitting anything on your sewing table? Do you have a roll of stabilizer maybe behind the machine and the pantograph is bumping into that? That can cause some shifting of layers. So we always want to make sure that the area around our embroidery machine is clear. And of course, we don't want that pantograph to hit a wall. I like to have my machine up, as close to the wall as I can so that I have lots of space in my sewing room. But truth be told, I need to have it away from the wall so that hoop can go all the way back. So let me show you how to align a hoop together. And I guess I'll just use this 8x8 that I had. Let me get a terry cloth towel. I think that would be handy. So I have one right here. Got to find that bottom of that hoop. If you think the technical issues are a challenge, you should see what's happening here in the sewing studio when I just have, I just toss everything off to the side. It's kind of like Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada, where she dumps that handbag on her assistant's desk. Same thing. Okay, so I would have my stabilizer in place, and that's way too small. So we'll just pretend it's that I have stabilizer in place. And then I would take my terry cloth towel. I always fold up the edge if I have a border. And even if I don't have a border, let me fold it up and make it pretend, no, we'll just go on the other end because there is no border. And I'll fold that up. And when you do that, you are creating a straight line, right? As long as your sides are aligned and not like this, then you have a straight line and you are square. So I bring that fold to the attachment and align the fold with the attachment, the edge of the hoop, and then I open up the terry cloth towel. And then I take my hoop and position it in a perpendicular fashion. And with my fingers, I am feeling the hoop underneath. And I just, want to make sure I'm somewhat aligned. And then I'm going to drop it. I'm going to move that tail right there. And I'm going to keep my hands out of the way and just drop it. Then I do take the time to pull on the towel. And you can do this in a monster hoop because it's two flat surfaces. We don't have to worry about any pulling or distorting the fibers because we're between two flat surfaces. But here, you probably can't see this. Well, you can see that. So I have a little bit of metal visible. So that means here's the edge of my towel and here's my metal hoop. So that means I'm not really aligned. So I'll take my hoop and stand it up and press down, and I'll flip it around the other side and press down. And that way, all four edges now are perfectly aligned. So now when I open up the edge, I don't see any metal hoop underneath because I am perfectly aligned. And that, so that's important. Do I need to pull and tug on it again? Maybe so. And feel free to do that. You're safe to go. And then when we go to the machine, if I'm at my workstation, I'm going to slide that protective shield, the magnet shield, underneath the hoop and carry it to the machine in that fashion. So that's how I transport my machine. That's how I make sure it's perfectly aligned. Because, that's what we want, right? It has to be nice and square. And, also your machine thinks you have a certain sewing field down there. So if you have it really misaligned, you could stitch on it. So let's go ahead and I'll show you what I mean by really misaligned. So here's my pantograph and I can take that, I can take, my frame. And if I were to put it on the machine in this fashion, I still have somewhat of a hold. I've seen, I've taught live, so in person. So I've seen people do this and goodness, the needle would hit that because the needle thinks it's over here, the edge of the hoop. So you have to have them aligned. It's not like an inner and outer ring that only goes together in one position. But once you get a handle on using them, more than 4 or 5 times, then you'll be a master of them because they're easy to use and they're just great. We love those monster hoops. It wouldn't be embroidering today if we didn't have them. So I know you're probably waiting to find out what is this week's On the House design. Well, September has been the Black Cat month and today is not going to be any different. We have the fat cat. Isn't he fun? He's got a great big belly and a fun swirly tail and those great green eyes. Look how tiny his feet are. I love how the scale of this fat cat is just so much fun. And next week, we're going to have the On the House project, and I have a guest, Sue Brown, who's going to be joining me. We're going to be talking about handbags, but, Sue Brown's going to be in the house, and she loves Halloween. So we're going to, that On the House project is definitely going to be an On the House Halloween project. So I hope that you'll enjoy me. And if you don't know Sue Brown, she's the owner and founder of OML Embroidery, and she does a sew-along on the House designs. I reveal it on the last Thursday of the month, and then that following Saturday, just 2 days later, she hosts a sew-along doing the project on YouTube. I love that she does that. We're always so grateful that she does that, and she has a lot of confidence in Dime that, she's going to like the project and it's going to work out. She only has 48 hours to make it happen. So, woohoo, my hat's off to Sue Brown. Okay, so thank you all for joining me today. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties that we had, and hopefully next week we won't run into any of that. But I appreciate you bearing with me and coming back to the second broadcast. And you're welcome to go back and watch the first if you missed part of the first. So have a good week and happy stitching. We'll be here next week at 1 o'clock.